Yeah, the Indiana Theater opened on January 28, 1922, and T.W. Barhydt, who was the original driving force behind the theater being built, was very active in the theater and entertainment scene in Terre Haute at the turn of the century. And the Indiana Theater really came into existence because he wanted to leave a lasting gift to the city of Terre Haute because he was so proud of his adopted hometown. And as part of that, he engaged John Eberson, who was the architect that founded what became known as atmospheric theater. And Eberson, if there were a Mount Rushmore of theater designers, would be on that Mount Rushmore. And the Indiana Theater is a very special building because it was his first prototype that then spawned what became the gold standard for American theater design. So we actually have a very significant treasure in the city of Terre Haute with the Indiana Theater. And it actually has a sister building, which is the Hippodrome, which is a block away. And Eberson also designed that with the engagement from T.W. Barhydt. So the Indiana Theater really came into existence to fill what its role was to be the grand palace of the city as Eberson, or as Barhydt's gift back to the city. So that's how it really came into existence. Yeah, the Indiana Theater has really been blessed with a lot of the big name acts we would know from yesteryear. Certainly even on its opening night, it was built for vaudeville and silent movies. And for those of us that didn't grow up with vaudeville, it really was the early version of what we came to know as a variety show. So it would involve skits, musical entertainment, a lot of things that were kind of a different combination of different events. And at the turn of the century, that was the primary traveling shows that graced the United States. And that was built for silent movies as well. And one of the original investors was Paramount Theaters. So that it's always had a movie tie even from its opening day. And as part of that, among the acts that people would know, I mean, Sinatra has been on this stage, Lucille Ball, Red Skelton, really anybody that, and we have anecdotally, we have some indications that Elvis may have been here. It's one of those things, it might be urban legend, but there was something in the newspaper we found in an article. So certainly if there was a big entertainer that came through the city, particularly in the early part of the 20th century, more than likely they entertained at the Indiana Theater. So there have been a lot of big names that have come through here, including those that were after the early part of the century. Sure. Really what I view my role to be is a bit of a caretaker for Terre Haute's building. And I say this often, I really do view it to be Terre Haute's building. And it doesn't matter who owns it, because the people that grow up here have their memories. And I've, from the beginning in buying the theater, I've said I felt there's a magic in the building. And what I think I came to understand better even after buying it and starting the renovation is it's a vault of memories. And what happens when people come in, we've had people from New Zealand that when they come back, they say the one place we want to go see is Indiana Theater because we have memories of the time we spent there. And we've had obviously a lot of local people, including myself, that grew up, and I have my memories like everybody else does from going to movies and other types of events, but mainly movies in my era. And my interest really from the beginning was in driving by. For many, many years, I always thought, what would I do if I had the theater? Because I always envisioned it to be an important part of downtown. It's part of our history, and again, it's Terre Haute's building. So I think the opportunity to take something that is a very special building architecturally and something that is a big part of our memories and a vault of our memories as a community, the ability to bring that back and reinvigorate it. And one thing I always try to make sure people think about is, and we even talk about it in our presentations, is that everybody who's owned the theater has cared about it. And if you look at the architecture and the structure of it, it's at times needed some cosmetic repairs, but it's a very strong building. And structurally, it's been maintained by every owner that's had it, who has put money into it, has kept it alive. So we've gotten a lot of credit, which we certainly appreciate in recent years. But everybody who's owned it all the way through cared about the building, and it's here, since 1922 because of that.
Off the top of your head, what is the one movie you remember seeing here?
Probably the one that everybody's going to associate with us forever is Rocky Horror. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, mainly because of I went to Indiana State, and I can remember many midnight movie ventures here. There obviously were a lot more. I remember seeing John Wayne movies here and stuff as a kid, and I'll date myself in referencing some of those eras. The one that, and it is the most shown movie in the history of the Indiana Theater, but if one comes to mind that I have a lot of memories of being to a lot of shows, it would be Rocky Horror. And we did show that for the first time in my ownership last year at Halloween, on Halloween night, and we will be showing that again this October. So that'll probably be our Halloween tradition. Yeah, I think in looking at it, you try to look at different ways to create income streams apart from the just movie showings. And certainly that has been a big part of its history. But if you go back to its original opening, even on the opening night, there was a fashion show, the vaudeville show, an orchestra performance, and all these things. It was always built to be something more than just a movie theater. And as time moved on and the cinemaplexes came into place, and made it harder and more difficult for big theaters, historic theaters like this, to survive on movies alone. And a lot of the changes we made were really based on trying to give us more functionality than just serving as a stage-based theater seating use of the auditorium. And this was really the key in terms of trying to bring more uses to the building, was how to use this room more than just a stage-based show. And that with the terrace that was put in, that's really the only major physical change that was made to the building. I think most people who come in, I've had people that have come back visiting it, I have to laugh. They start telling me stories about being on the terrace, as we call it, you know, for 20 or 30 years ago, and it's kind of funny because it didn't exist then. But in their memories, you know, I think they connect it and associate it with the building in a way that we haven't taken away from it. It's the master's legacy, but at the same time, we've given ourselves a lot more functionality.
Can you kind of talk about looking ahead? What are your plans, without giving too much away?
Sure.
What you want to do moving forward?
We want to continue to add more capabilities for, particularly in live entertainment, and also in keeping with a lot of the core activities we have in terms of the wedding activities, and certainly we do a lot of fundraisers, community events, company parties, holiday events, those kinds of things, and adding more lighting effects and, you know, upgrading sound equipment and things that are like that. Longer term, we want to continue working on creature comforts as well. Seating is going to be our most expensive long-term goal. We hope it's not too long-term, but it's going to take some planning to be in position to do that. And some of the other outer parts of the theater, we do have plans to develop some of the frontage along 7th Street. And the intention still remains, as it really has been from the beginning, is to add probably some type of lounge, kind of a wine and martini lounge, and a smaller event space that would be complementary with the bigger spaces inside the lobby, inside the auditorium. Because we do have a number of events that people are interested in using the space, but sometimes if it's too big for a certain size group, then they feel a little lost within the rooms. So we have space that we can develop and use that way. Well, it is a 1922 building, and if you're here late at night sometimes, you might hear or see things that you might perceive to be a little unusual. The only direct story we have, which is kind of interesting in terms of you know, potential ghost in terms of an identity, was that Bert Steinhauser was one of the original founding management people for the theater, and he also later became the projectionist in the booth. And if anybody's ever seen the movie The Majestic, it's for a small town theater where the projectionist actually passes away in the booth. And the way they know that is that he doesn't splice the film together, and it loops, so it stops in the middle of the film. Well, that's exactly what happened with Bert here. So he actually passed away in the projection booth in exactly the same fashion that it did in The Majestic. So it's kind of interesting. So if there's anything unusually happen, we usually attribute it to Bert and his hand on it. And we actually have had a medium go through and say it's a very active, for those that are into this stuff, and to whatever extent people believe in it, has gone through and said it's a very active spiritual place, but they're very happy, friendly ghosts. So they're very happy with what's happening here because this is a place they came to have fun. So for anybody that gets freaked out about that, it's a happy ghost place.